everybody doing? Okay, it's a vote, Tai Chi or stick. Okay, it's just a stick. Let's do something. Let's do a little bit of standing before we do anything. So make your feet shoulder width wide, and then push your head top up. Put the stick right between, if you have your feet here, right in the center at equal distance. And then resting one hand on top, the other hand on top there. And then adjust. So activate your feet, make sure they're full. Relax your tailbone. Push the head top up. Relax your shoulders. So in this position, imagine it's just your center line from your feet going up to your head top.
Do you keep your knees bent?
They're not straight. There's a little bit of a bend in them. You want to have the feeling that if I'm standing against the wall this way and I push the back of my knees against the wall, just the point where they're relaxed. So we just don't want to have this sort of straight leg. It's because I have a dark pants on, it's difficult to see, but they're not. We don't have them bolted straight. This is the same as if you take the stick out of the equation. And like if we're standing, if you have your feet shoulder width wide, like we're standing, holding the ball. The same thing, so you can see the shape, my torso going flat, and then the same thing in the back. And then there's the knees, there is a bend, there's a little bit of going forward. You can think about the exercise we do where if you're holding on to something and sitting back, you don't want this to be round here this way. Instead, if you make it straight and have the same feeling, so if I try to make my feet parallel to the camera and then sitting back, if you don't have something like this, you can use a door handle. And so the idea is if my feet are parallel and I'm holding the door handle, you can sort of sit back. And what we want to develop is this strength inside the legs here to be able to sit back. This is in the martial arts, they have a horse stance, right? Something like this. Without curving this back to support, right? Keeping the neck straight. And then we just make that less extreme. So it's just a vertical standing. But if we were to increase, we push the tailbone back and down and keep this inside folded in to get into the correct horse stance. But then here, we're just standing. And we don't want to lock the legs. We want to keep them. There's a small bend in the leg. And so in this posture, when we're standing like you're holding the ball, you have to either feel the weight of your arms or you have to allow them to become lightweight and filled with chi. When we're practicing with the stick, if you keep this sort of triangle and let the palms rest on that. By the way, this is, if we set the stick down again, this is an idea that is maybe people have seen before, but if not, if you just take your arms and you have your elbows at your ribs and you bring your fingertips together and you look down, you're going to see a triangle between your elbows and your hands, this triangle right here, right? And this is the place where you have the most physical power. So when for people doing feats of strength, if they want to demonstrate some type of power, they're doing it right here. And if you have to do the same thing, this is where your power is. The more you have to reach, the less power there is out there. So we want to do things where our center is. This is the same if we're working in the kitchen and we're making something. We may have all the ingredients, but we bring them to the center to cut and to do things here. If you're sitting at the desk, typing is at the correct place, right? Where the elbows, where the bend is, ergonomics. The more we have to reach to write something or to get something, this triangle becomes distorted. We lose power. So this triangle also in Tai Chi. And the same for this practice. You want to have the stick between the feet and at the correct place where the arms can relax, out far enough, but not out so far that we have to stretch the shoulders. We want to let the shoulders relax. And by using the stick, by putting the weight of the hands, like you're taking the arms offline, as if you could, a lot of times I say don't separate the shoulders right here at this line, but just like an action figure or a child's toy or a doll, like there's a seam right here and we can just disconnect that. So let the stick support the weight of the arms, as if the hands and the palms supported by the stick, the forearms. And this allows you to focus on your center. So you have your 2 feet, they come up to the center here, and then the spine going up. We don't have to think about what's happening with the arms. If we practice this kind of standing here, even if we're doing this one, we have to think about what's happening with the arms. But if we can get into the right state by using the stick, letting the arms relax. So then you can focus on your spine, from your feet, from the heels, going up, and then where they connect, where the legs connect at the hips, and then going all the way up the center to the back of the head. And so without thinking about the arms, it's easier to focus on the structure of the spine. So keep the chin tucked. If you're practicing at home and you don't have a stick, you can be doing the same exercise just by standing here or using Tai Chi Harmony if you have a stick. And then relax your breathing so you can make the breathing longer, more relaxed. By the way, this is my strategy for practice a lot of times is in the morning when we start practicing, we practice very slowly because the body is still waking up, and we don't want to, just like when you start your car, you don't want to just start driving it 100 miles an hour right away. You want to allow the engine to warm up. The same thing. Well, we do the same not only for daily as the sun comes up and transitions and sets, but we do the same thing during the year. In the winter when it's cold and there's less chi, then we do a lot of heavy forms to sort of make up for that. And so some of those movements when we're doing in the winter time style movements, very, very large movements to move. But in the summertime, especially in July, August, and September when it's reaching the hottest months, there's classes where we may do this kind of standing for half the class, maybe more, depending on how much energy there is, because it's a good time to practice the other end of that spectrum. There's already energy. There's a lot of sunlight. The sunlight is, the air temperature is warm, the ground temperature is warm, and so we don't need to move to make the energy. There's plenty of energy available, so we can practice the chi, practice moving the energy, practice changing the body temperature through breathing. We don't need to work so much to practice the chi. So we do the form. We may practice the form in a different way, lighter, more relaxed. The same thing tonight with the stick. It's warm where I'm located. So outside of that, we're going to focus on sort of the movement without, I'm not going to be doing lunges. And this kind of extreme posture may just get to here, right? This type of thing. So let's go back to change. If you're holding the stick, set it down. Let's do some breathing to warm up, to inflate, and to gather a whole bunch of chi. So stretching, reaching. And make the breathing relaxed. All the way to the top, reach all the way out to the sides, all the way to the base. So it's a stretch while you breathe. Imagine pulling energy up through the center of the legs, through the center of the body, through the center of the arms, through the center of the head top. So try longer inhales. Full inflation, fully relaxed, and then make the exhale shorter. There's one Taoist writing, and it says the ancient masters breathed through their heels. I've heard a couple of teachers explain this one, but instead I want you to imagine deep breathing. Do 3 more. Go at your own pace. Reach the end, take your stick, and then put the stick over the back, just on top of the shoulders. If it's measured correctly, it should fit about the palms with the elbows relaxed. And pull the back of the neck up. And even though the stick is here, try to contain the chest, all of the chest as much as you can. And then from here, just turning. So think about the same thing we worked on earlier. If you leave your arms out of the equation, you have legs in a center line, you have legs in a spine. So the legs, if you make your feet parallel and there's a slight bend in the knees, they'll have a certain shape. You relax the tailbone. And so here, we're just gently rocking the spine. So keep your chin facing forward. The back of the head top is pushing up. And imagine like a perpetual device where once it reaches the limit, it just bounces back to the other side. So we want to feel the bounce. So without any effort, engage your abs, breathing through the stomach. Relax your tailbone. Like you're going to just sit right on the edge of something, right? There's something and you can just sit your edge on it. But then here, it's going down. And then the feeling is that it's sinking, that the tailbone is sinking downwards with gravity. So push the head top up, and then the same thing, just gradually, just lightly turning around the spine, around the center. Keep your face forward, right, so that it's not turning. And the same thing, my hips are facing forward. Let's do another one. So from the same thing, from here, turning. So try to keep the spine straight, and turning up the center. Breathe deep. And then when you're doing these, try to reach to the center. See how my hand goes to my center line, to the center of the camera. So we're not just going out here. You can do that. And by the way, you should be able to do this without pain. So if you're having pain, if you don't have a stick, you can do the same exercise. It's just more challenging, right? So if you take the hands this way and you turn them, the stick will help you keep the alignment in the shoulders and prevent you from try the other direction. So if I make my feet parallel to the camera and I have this cross beam is even here in the center, when I turn, I want to reach my face is still going forward, my nose, and then reaching to the center here, and then reaching. Keep your hips, don't let your knees turn. You can make it a stretch. On this one, you may see as I bring this hand down, it's rolling over the shoulder blade. So allow that tissue to be soft, so the stick pulling downwards on the top part of the back for a massage. How many, everybody has a stick in their hand. How many feel that when we're going over the top this way, you can feel the stick pressing down the back of the shoulder blade? Yeah, because this is a great way. Everybody has problems in the same places. When I first started studying with TC, I was coming out of a Shaolin-based school, and he showed me some of the movements, and I said, it's so close, why is it so similar to a Shaolin? And he said, one body. And he meant one body in martial arts, but he also meant there's only one body. There's only so many ways to attack and punch and kick. And this also means there's only one body, which means everybody gets tension in the same place. The upper back. So using this kind of stick, let's go back to standing while I talk. So find a nice, comfortable stance. We can do a few different things. One of the ways that this kind of exercise we've just been doing is beneficial. Allow your shoulders to relax, especially after that kind of stretching and opening. Is we've talked about in acupuncture theory, there's a mirror point, right? So everybody knows about Laogong point on the palm, but not everyone knows that Laogong point is also mirrored on the back of the hand. And so this is true for the front and back of the head, the front and back of the body. And then also for side to side, it's mirrored laterally, it's mirrored front to back, top to bottom, maybe. I don't know that, actually. I don't know if it's what's on the top is mirrored at the bottom that way, but I know side to side, and I know front to back, so top and bottom hand, back of the hand, front of the hand. Which means, when you have pain in your back, right, when you wake up and, oh, I slept on my neck wrong, and now I got 3 days until this thing works itself out. A lot of times we can access through the front, because maybe it's too much to even use the stick this way, right? If you can, it works. What we were just doing is, if you watch the action of where the stick hits my shoulder blade, I can relax my back and pull this hand down and massage all that tissue across the blade and the rib cage. Same thing on the other side, so here, pulling down. But the other way that this exercise also helps is opening the chest. You should feel this. You can do this with a longer stick. If you have a 6-foot stick or Tai Chi staff, something like that, you can reach all the further. But if you have your shoulders relaxed and you do this, it's opening through here, right? Even if you're very, very flexible and you can do all kinds of, even if it's very open by holding the stick, you feel it in your shoulders, the anterior deltoids, the front part of the shoulder, this teardrop shape here. You feel it in pectoralis, this band of muscles that connects the sternum and goes across and hooks up to the collarbone and all of this joint over here. So this opening the front is an important part of opening the back. How many here have seen us do this exercise, where if I take my step and I shift my center line forwards and backwards, and then rocking the spine. And this one is like taking this and shaking it, right? So we want to keep the spine very stable, right? And get the shoulders and collarbone, all that opening, all of this stuff. So by opening this way, by using the idea that these points are mirrored on the back, we're also adjusting the back. And the same thing when on the back, when we use the stick for this type of, almost like a climbing type exercise, when we reach the hand up, reach to the center, and then pull down. And then the same thing, like you're making a big, like 2 cones on either side. Right? If I did this really fast, it would look funny, but like a cone. And then here, pull down, massage the back of your neck and the back of your back. This is a practice that you can do every day. And the reason it's important to do it every day is because we're losing time, right? So one of my, a big eye-opening moment for me in my practice was I was on a Tai Chi retreat, and a Qigong person came up to was doing a speech and said, does anyone want to come up here and get some work done? And someone said, yeah, my shoulder's been killing me. And the woman sat down, and the Qigong person did some healing, and then later after the class, the teacher said to me, that's from having 30 years of this kind of tension in the wrong place. So if you set your stick down for a second and take your hands, right, reach across. This muscle up here is trapezius. So feel that muscle, and then feel all the tendons around it, and then check the other side. And then go back and see if they feel the same. That's good. That means that they're balanced, even if they're tight. But you should feel one side a lot tighter than the other, right? Based on something, how we drive, right? If you leave your hand on the stick shift and you're driving for a long time, your shoulders will take that position. If you use a mouse and you use a keyboard, you only use the left side of the keyboard for a certain application that you use all day, every day, your shoulders will get into that position. So this is something, this shoulder structural stuff is something we don't want to find out in another 10, 20 years that we never fixed it. The time to start fixing that kind of stuff is now. Especially the back and the spine. There was a question from one of the viewers actually that we can answer while we're here, since we're talking about this stuff. And the question was, when using a wall to do the standing exercise, or as an alignment tool, right? If we want to make sure that we're doing things correctly and accurately, it's the same. This exercise that we have here with the stick, we have the same thing in the pigua, right? There's two different styles of pigua that have that movement. You can practice that way. You can also use the stick, right? This type of movement. Going back to the question, the back. How do we know for the alignment? We can use a stick, a ruler, or for our spine we use a wall. And I'm going to turn a little bit this way. So if I press the back of my head, barring any strange haircuts aside, if we look and I place the back of my head against the wall, can you still see a line that goes through here? Because there's a curvature in the neck. We don't want to push that flat. We don't want to make this neck and like mash it backwards against the wall and close the windpipe. We don't want to make that flat. We want to leave that curve, right? It's called the cervical arch. There's the curve there. And then the question is, what parts do we press against the wall? You want to press as much of your back against the wall as you can, with the exception of the cervical arch, the thing that we had just talked about. And the other one is back here, the lumbar arch, right? So this is, if I try to pull my shirt this way, the same thing. My tailbone sits against the wall, and maybe to about my mid-back, and then there's a space. And the same thing, I can push my back and round out that arch. We don't want to do that. We want to keep that arch in place. So what does all this have to do with Kung Fu, with Tai Chi? When we go back to the very basic Tai Chi and harmony, we can play pin the tail on the donkey, put this highest point of the crown against the wall, mash as much of the back of your head, leave the arch for the neck, and then press your shoulder blades. Press the outsides of your shoulders. Let them relax so they're sinking vertically on the y-axis. Use your center to support. Press as much of your back. My teacher used to use food a lot of times as a teaching tool. He would say, imagine you're pressing a grilled cheese sandwich down into the skillet. He says, that's your back. Relax your back, right? And so that it's warm and it's expanding like the cheese that's being melted on the skillet, whatever. And so, the same thing. And then if you really want to check, press your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your fingertips, and your hands. This is a difficult posture to do. Keep the chin tucked. And then try to stand there. If you don't have wall space, even here, you can see there's no, I have this, you can use a door, right? There should be enough space by the door to do the same thing, right? So you can practice. And this kind of alignment, this kind of laser line alignment, if we go back and we practice the standing, this will make an adjustment. So hopefully that answers the question for when somebody said, should I press my neck and the back, all of that flat against the wall, and how much? Should I press my shoulders, or should I let them hang, or where should they be? Push as much, minus this arc and this, the lower back. Those should be naturally rounded. If you go to anatomy, you can see the spine. Before we continue, anyone have questions about the stick form? We have about 25 minutes, so let's work on some stuff while we're doing the stuff. Unless you have questions about the Tai Chi form. All right, let's do a few movements. Let's actually do from the beginning. We'll just go over the first couple of movements. So, from the salute, we have the ready stance. And this is the same thing if I'm facing forward. This stick is actually right along the side of my gate. So from the ready stance, from here, it's a block. Step and block. And remember, this first one, we're holding, so almost like the bagua that has the hiding flower underneath, but instead here, this sweeping block across and just about connecting to the shoulder. Because this will give you the feeling of this kind of sweeping, like wiping. By the way, this is, I'm going to also be reviewing empty hand form, because this same form is also an empty hand Kung Fu form. So when we go from the salute, we have ready, block, punch, turn, cut. Right? Has all of this stuff built into the stick form. We're learning the stick form first. So again, from the beginning, from the salute, ready, sweep and block. Salute, ready, sweep, block. And the next one is casting. So after I've done the sweep and block here, I want to cast a fishing line, right? Like as far and over the top as I can. Even if I'm not going over an object, if there's something here, even if I'm not going over it, I want to extend this energy up so that if my target is here, right, there may be a few things. Perhaps my opponent has a shield, they have some type of weapon or some type of block. If that's the case, right, and it's here, I want to get over that to get to their defense. But even if that is the target itself, we still want to rise up to send the power back down to that thing. So whether we're trying to clear the object or whether we're trying to extend the energy up and over and back down to hit the opponent, it's the same. We want to have the energy go over the top, reaching up. So from the salute, ready, block, high hit. So I'm turning to my right side, and then when I cast, I'm shifting to my left foot. Remember, the footwork for this is not critical. It can change, right? You can cast here, cast there, side directionality doesn't really matter. We're just learning the postures. These contain the hand tricks, and the hand tricks are the way that we end up winding up the hands, the wrists, and the forearms, and then consequently unwinding them. Iron fan, iron fan. It's a wind one direction, unwind the other direction. So a great example, but I don't know how many people would know, but it's like the balsa wood airplane models, right? They have a propeller, and you put a rubber band on it. And they do the same thing actually for ultra lightweight. If you go on YouTube and you want to see what people are doing with super lightweight materials, nanomaterials to make flying machines, they actually use a rubber band wound up. They're still using that to get this turning. So let's look for that, the hand trick in every posture. So from here, ready. The first one from the salute to the ready is here. We're turning the waist. So my body is turning. And then we're also turning the arm this way. And then in addition, we're turning the wrist. And from there, the stick has its own energy and momentum as well. So from the ready, already you should be developing from the salute, to the next one, from 0 to 1. Here, you should already be developing, cultivating a very nasty kind of hit, right? This first one is this, and it's inside. Please be very careful. There's expensive computer monitor, laptop monitor. So be careful. But here, ready, block, cast. Like I'm projecting from my foot all the way to the top. And you see the action, the motion makes this arc. How many were online the other day when we were doing this one, right? This object it's a pen, right? It's a solid pen. But if you ever seen this trick, right? Board in school, and you make it look like it's made of rubber. I wobble it around a little bit. This is a BIAN idea, right? Is you can do the same thing with a big stick if you find the right balance point and you can get it right. I'm not going to try to do it right now. This here, 1, 2. This cast has that same. The pivot point is towards the end, right? So if we keep the pivot point towards the end, we have the same feeling as turning that pencil. So we have ready, lock, casting to that corner. And so after we cast from there, the next one is there's 2 parts, and I've been breaking it down into 2 parts, but we're just gonna do one. It's gonna be called elbow. And every time we go to elbow, there's gonna be a waba. But to make it simple again, after the cast, we have waba, elbow. And so this elbow trick is just like if you hold your stick somewhere below the halfway point, and then you take your stick somewhere above the halfway point. Doesn't matter which hand is which, and you take the upper hand and you fold it into the opposite elbow, and then you push that hand up. So if I'm just holding this way, and I take this other hand and turn it. You can even let it go. In fact, as an exercise, by the way, we can distinguish between the actual form and practicing exercises to get the feeling. Is if you're here, if you hit it hard and let it go, right? Don't let it go so that it flies off and smashes your painting, but instead, here, get the feeling that the stick is free floating, right? You may hit yourself, so just do it this way. And you can put it into the elbow, but in this exercise, I want you to feel that the stick is going to go flying off to the side, except it's being constrained by this hand. Because this is the idea. From the salute, we have ready, lock, cast, waba. Is this movement, right? I don't know if the sound comes across, but it's a whoosh, right? And so here's another way to do it, to get a different feeling of power for the same movement, is after we cast, we waba. And you see I'm holding it pretty evenly. It's maybe 20 to 25% from the end here, and the same thing, maybe 20 to 30% here. And I'm just turning it into the elbow. That's the most basic, is this. If you hold it, 1 palm up, 1 palm down, take the palm up side and turn it into the opposite elbow. And then switch, try the other way, 1 palm up, 1 palm down. Take the palm up side and turn it like you're throwing it over, and then flip the other elbow up. The real test is be able to make power without any effort. So if I hold it at the midway point, like this, and then I take the top, so in this case, if I'm holding the middle, and I take the top, remember the exercise we did where we just swing it? It's the same thing here, except I'm not going to let it go. I'm going to hold on to the top after I swing it to hit the target. So here. So this one is literally pulling the lever, right? I think it was a Greek philosopher, Archimedes, was talking about the lever. He said, if you give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to put it, I can move the entire world, right? The BIAN uses the Greek principle of the lever. So if you hold it in the middle and you take the top and you fold that top into your elbow. Now remember, the basic grip, I can just hold this, especially if I bring this grip a little closer, 20 to 30% from the end, right? And optimally, the same length as your forearm, from your elbow to your fingertips here, if that's where you're holding it. Now watch, when I turn this, it folds directly along the edge of my forearm, right? And you can get a lot of power at a big distance without having to do very much. All I'm doing is taking this and pulling this movement across here. And I create a wheel where the pivot point is here, and the diameter of that wheel is very large, right? So, and it can be, again, if I hold it down here and I turn that into my elbow, the pivot, the wheel is only this long, right? I can use it for short range, long range. Anyone have questions about this? I don't know the name for this in Mandarin, by the way, the fold into the elbow. It does have a name. There is talk, by the way. I want you guys to know that Master Yun is teaching a BIAN course, I think, once things open up. So I would recommend going to study with him. It will improve your BIAN skills for however many weeks he's going to be teaching it. He's a disciple of Guo, and I'm an authorized teacher. I asked him after I got a gold medal, I went to him and Master Yun presented. So I'm permitted to teach this form, but really you want to study with Master Yun. So elbow, he can teach you what the name of this is in Mandarin, and much more. So elbow, and then what's the next one? Let's look. So going from the beginning. Oh wait, do we have anyone have questions, thoughts, ideas? If you do, just unmute yourself and ask freely as you like. Salute, ready, block, cast, and then elbow. And the next one is the smash. So from here, and by the way, you notice, kind of like the Tai Chi form, the movement previous determines what the next one is. So after I salute and I have my block, once I do the block here, when I cast, if I waba just a little bit, then this is a shorter range attack. But after I cast, when I waba, if I waba a lot, I can let the stick drop almost all the way. This is going to be a much longer, I actually had to watch the wall, a much longer attack, right? Because how I did the waba. So the moment before you do the movement, you're going to be, right? It looks good. So Tika, that movement, that turning to the next one, right, is once it's up here, is the unwinding. That's the hand, what Guo referred to, that we translate to English as hand tricks, right? These hand turning. And when you get it right, it will feel like the stick is moving like a wheel, and it doesn't have any way to stop it until you tell it to stop. So let's continue to find what the next one was. Salute, ready, lock, cast, recoil, flip into the elbow, and then here, unwind, smash. So let's look at what smash is on its own. If I'm holding it right at the 25% mark, right at about a quarter of the stick, I have a marker here. I have a wood burn in this. I'm holding here, and I want to reach across like I'm hitting something to the side, right? If my target is over here, I can use the bag, right? Like I'm reaching to hit the bag this way. But now, instead of just throwing this here, I'm going to take my other hand, my right hand, and I'm going to slide it across. I'm going to start from this end. And this is almost like shooting pool in reverse, right? Except we're going to turn the body as well. So this is, once I step, I'm going to throw this thing to hit here, right? Just like I want to, there's my opponent, I don't like that, I want to hit it. But now, I'm going to add this waba. This other hand is going to slide so that when I resolve, it's thumb to thumb together. Right? And by the way, this is the same thing. What's the movement that comes before this? Elbow here is, if my opponent is very close, right? So I did, let's see, cast, waba, hit. And then when I want to do the next one, my opponent is here within arm's reach. If I just do a short waba, I can get that smack, right? That smashing thing. But let's say the opponent is far away, and I do my cast, waba, elbow. The next one here I can hit all the way, use the end of the stick all the way to get to there. Right? Does that make sense? Is how you position the hands on the stick before the thing determines the range. And all of this comes from this technique that I will refer to in Mandarin all the time, Wa-Ba, which is the sliding. We can practice a very basic one, is if you reach over, connect, slide, turn it up and over, connect, slide, turn it up, over, connect, slide, turn it up, over, connect, slide, turn. Because you can just connect, you can just grab this and do the next one, grab it, and do the next one, grab it, and do the next one, grab it, and do the next one. But if you practice the Wa-Ba, you can do things like grab it to the end and hit way out. And then when you get to here, the same thing, you can grab the end and hit way out. Make the pivot, or you can make it, if I grab just under my elbow, make it very small. Right? And so this, by the way, if you practice, this is a very impressive thing, right? When you see there's a group of, well, whatever, just stay focused on practicing, right? You can change the Wa-Ba here. And this creates a moving pivot point. So when you can feel it, especially if you have, for people that have an actual BIAN, the weight of the stick, as it's coming out, as it gets transferred in the hands, has this moving, sliding pivot that creates this power, this undercurrent. And we're looking for that in every posture. So if my hands are all the way wide here, when I fold into my elbow, I can make them a lot smaller if I like to get to the attack there. Or if it's super wide here, I can just fold one and let this other one slide. The Wa-Ba is in the movement itself. Let's continue from the beginning. Salute, ready. Block, cast, flip. The next one, smash. Right? So smash is if you take this, and like I have a circle, you see this circular shape where my arms interconnected with the stick? Just like you want to turn that whole circle and hit. And then we end in a Chiling Bu, which is almost like a lunge. Right? We can have this leg. Don't let the knee. Definitely do not let it go past the toe. But you want to keep the knee even behind the front. When you look down, you should be able to see the front third of your foot. At front half to front third. At least your toes. Right? And so, and the position for this, the stick when we do the form, is level. So I want this thing to be level. So the smash, after this is cocked into my elbow, when I turn, smash here. Right, so this rear foot is in a Chiling just on the toes, right? And the front foot, this front one is relatively straight, maybe angled back a bit. And the thumbs facing each other this way. Make it level. Ready, block, cast, flip, Chiling. What's the next one is the Wa-Ba, the cut up the center. So from the smash, we have the same thing, Wa-Ba. We have one hand Wa-Bas and then the other hand slides. Remember, every posture is a yin-yang palm. So this next one is a weird one, it's backwards. The grabbing palm is thumb down. So if you have your stick here in front of you and maybe grab it 20 to 30% here, right? And you're holding it so your elbow is out. It's kind of a weird one. And then you take your other hand, just like we did a second ago, if you let this swing and then let it connect. You can even, just as like an experiment, right? Just letting it go this way without doing anything more fancy than that. This hand's already traveling up, right? There's my opponent. I just want to swing the stick and hit them. But then right before I hit them, I'm going to add, there's one trajectory here is turning, and then this other hand is sweeping up faster. And so we have trajectory 1, 2, 1, 2. It creates this 1-2 action, right? You get this double lever action. Should feel very powerful. That's just for one type of hit. But this is also, we can use this in a different way, right? This, by the way, for people following at home that either don't have a stick or don't know the difference, we can also use the meow dao, right? Which is a sword. It's a long sword. It's like a Chinese long sword. So the same technique. If I hold it here, I have my elbow, my palm out facing that way. The bladed edge is in the front here. And the same, if I just hold this lever, right, I can get the same action. But now, if I have this chopping and I come up, I can add my body weight on the pressure to the stick. So here, so if I step away, I have this hand on the upper side here, and this hand. So this cutting motion, right? We can, and if your opponent is here, you can use this as a brace, as a bar that has a blade on it, and just literally smash straight into your opponent. But let's go back to the stick. So this one, did we talk about this thing here? It's just this couple of these movements is when you have this kind of turning right this way, or just pulling back this way on the lever. So this is the same is when if I'm palm down, grabbing this, and then palm up here, right? I can get the power for the range, or the same thing, just like with the sword, I can put my power into / through the target. And so for this one, again, I don't know the name for this one in Mandarin. I call it cutting upwards, upward cutting. So after the smash down, I waba to my fourth grip, and then cut up. Right hand is on the fourth grip, left hand is on the first grip. By the way, we talked about the measurements here, right? So there's a dot here that represents my fourth group. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. If you see that dot appears there. Same thing on this end, right? There's a marker. 1, 2, 3, 4. The same. If I move, you see there's my dot. Meow Dao is the same, right? The sword. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, for this one, we're using it like a meow dao, holding it at the fourth grip and stepping forward to cut up. And like I said, whether you use it as the double pivot, you're swinging up. Like you have a sword, you can use the BIAN just like a meow dao. Like you want to cut up the center here, cutting up from your opponent's center this way. And then at the last minute, hooking this other hand, or defensively, like a shield, you can use this whole thing to brace. This is a study. I think that might be time. I think it's about time. Before we continue, anyone have questions, thoughts, comments, ideas? Okay, cool. Wait. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Iron fan with the stepping, with the feet.
Yeah, you want to go over the iron fan?
Yeah, with the feet, with the stepping.
With the feet, okay. We're going to use north and south. We'll face north and south as the thing, and then we'll turn that 180 left and right so we can see. So if I'm facing north and I'm holding my stick and I have, it doesn't matter where my grip is, left and right. When I start, I'm going to put my right foot forward, and I'm going to turn the stick over to the side. If I face this direction, like this, I put my right foot forward, and I'm throwing the stick over to the side. Right? The movement, by the way, for the hands, the hand trick in this one is if it's level here, and my open hand, I'm throwing it directly across. So this is just like a windshield wiper on a car, going back and forth this way, right? So from the open hand, we're throwing it over, and we're stepping forward. So imagine that I have a target here in the center, right? I'll see if I can use this thing, right? This yoga ball. I don't know if it will stay in place. We'll find out. But if that's my target, I want to step past my target. I have to move it because there's a wall here. But I have to move. When I hit the target, I have to move past it. Right? So as it's sitting there, I'm going to hit it. I'm walking forward, but hitting 90 degrees to the side. That makes sense? If I go from another angle, I'm stepping forward, but I'm hitting directly to the side. Just like this. 1. And now, this is the question that you have, is the footwork. Is on that right foot, I'm going to shift my weight forward. I'm going to turn my left foot 180 degrees, so now I'm facing the other direction. So this is without the stick. I'm going to step forward, right next to my target, and then I'm going to do a 180 so that I'm also right next to my target. I can use a different one. I don't have to use this thing. Right? If I move this may be easier for you to see. Imagine I want to strike this point right here in the center. And the alignment is lined up this way. So for the first one, when I step forward, see how my stick is lined up with this stick to hit that target. I'm just standing here minding my business. Iron fan 1, step and turn. Step forward, turn the stick. And now I'm going to bring the foot that's in the rear, my rear leg, 180 degrees. See how my feet lined up going the other way? Let me move this back a little bit. So here, step forward. This is lined up. And now this other foot turns 180. So my feet now going this way, turning this way. Right step, left hook. Right step, left hook. Right step forward, left hook 180. And then you're hitting the same target on the same side both times. So my target never changes. Right foot forward, hit that target. Left foot 180, hit the same target. Even smaller one, easier one to see, right? So when I step forward, I hit, I turn, and I hit. If I'm going in a different direction, if I change my parallel step this way, as I'm walking past my target, right foot forward, left foot sweep. And you should find the weight transfer. My whole body right now is twisted. I'm going to see if I can find an angle on the camera. Right? I have this leg here and this leg out here, and my hands this way. And so all of those, I'm going to unwind to the other side. Don't worry about the legs too much, except foot and hands are here, and then pivoting in place. And that pivot, once this other foot turns, it hits, it steps, and it stomps at the same time the stick does. So your whole body is driving the power behind that hand trick. That makes sense? So the target is on the side. We have one hit. Right? It's over there, it's on my right. Doesn't matter which direction it's facing. But I'm going to walk past it in this direction. Whatever, it's off camera. More questions, thoughts, comments. Did that answer your question? Sorta? Okay, good. Let's close. So just set your stick down. We're going to do kind of the same way we started, just breathing. Imagine gathering all the energy, compressing into the center. Make the breathing relax. Reach all the way out to the sides. Reach all the way up to the top. Let everything relax. Make sure the tongue is connected to the upper palate. Reaching the hands out to the sides. And then we're also turning the forearms so they're flat and pressing down on the way here. And then unrolling the hands, palms up, turning, palms down. And to keep the palms down, once they get lower than the elbows, they have to have this kind of turning this way. We don't want to turn this way. We want to turn this way. Pressing. So unrolling the arms. And the unroll happens at the center. Goes all the way out. And then reaching is the same thing. Reach from the center. Let everything relax, expanding. Do 3 more longest, slowest breath of weekend so far. While you're relaxing, allow your body to auto-adjust. The micro-adjustments happen on their own. And then when you finish, bring your feet together. Continue the same kind of breathing pattern that we were just doing a second ago. Relax your shoulders, relax your tailbone. You can leave the eyes open, you can close them just a bit. And move your mind into the dantian, into the center. There's a saying in Qigong culture, it says, where the mind goes, the energy follows. So in the evening when we do this kind of practice, allow everything to go back into the storage unit. After you go out and have the spending spree, you take everything that's left and put it back into the bank. So after the class, put the mind back into the dantian. And then breathing into the dantian, you can, like sealing it, like closing it off. After you put everything away, you close the lid for the box, the same thing. Take a second internally to smile to yourself. Internally. And then one long last deep breath. That's it. If you have questions, comments, you can email me, text me, call me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good night.